Bright star has glistening potential. Love has a way of making you want to cling to hope. It happens to the very best of us. Jane Campion's cinematic screenplay, based on John Keats' poem, Bright Star, is an impeccable example of that. The poem is based off of John wanting to be a star, but ultimately decides to be with his lover. Set in the 1800s in Hampshire, England, John and his lover, Fanny's love for each other blossoms into hope and compassion. The movie commences with John and Fanny meeting each other and falling in love, but they both face restriction from Fanny's family because of John's financial crisis, which the lovers are both aware of. However, they eventually find a way to be together when their dilemma arises.
The poet John Keats is moderately executed by Ben Whishaw, which doesn't reflect the role that he played in BBC Two adaptation of Richard II as part of the Hollow Crown series, for which he won the Best British Academy Television Award for the Best Actor. However, Paul Snyder does a decent job of being John's friend, as well as illustrating the emotions of Mr. Brown effectively. Abby Cornish, in comparison to most of the cast and actors, perform impeccably by representing Fanny's love and compassion towards her family and John Keats. She has been in other movies and she has been nothing short of amazing.
The beginning of the plot was a bit unclear and difficult for the audience to understand. Ben, John's brother, was introduced too late in his life and no background information shown, so the audience could not really connect with him. Jane Campion's direction showed emphasis on the characters, but using close-up shots, but had continuity issues. For example, when John was found in the bushes, they carried him in. His hands were hanging at first, but in the following scene, his hands were on top of him, so the flow of events didn't really match up. On the other hand, the soundtrack that was used did a very good job of setting the mood of peacefulness and calmness. Seeing that the movie is based on the 1800s, the props, language, and setting that we saw matched at that time, and the actors did a really good job on portraying how people would act at that time. Some of the actors aren't even from England, like Abby Cornish, but without knowing that, you never would have guessed that she's not from there.
John Keats' life teaches us that we should always try and live life to the fullest, whether it be with your friends, your family, or your pet, because they can leave you at any moment without a warning. Campion does a brilliant job of executing the emotions of love and sorrow, which shows us what losing a loved one would feel like. There are so many people today that are unappreciative of the people that surround them, and Campion opened our eyes to that reality.
Bright Star is a child-friendly film, showing how life was back then. Most of the films today are fictional and non-authentic human qualities. This movie dives really deep into human connections as well as the input given back to us as humans. This genre of film represents forsaken love, without any gimmicks or materialistic objects that may pursue thoughts nowadays. It develops words that are unexceptionally pristine, bringing in love that is untouched and rare. Undoubtedly, this film executes love well. However, it is hard to understand without any background knowledge. By any means, do your research and then enjoy this movie, or else it may be confusing. On a personal note, I wasn't a big fan of this movie. It was a bit confusing, and as a young teenager, it was not full of action or something that would catch your eye within a second. It was a bit confusing, and I would definitely recommend this movie to people who are in love with poetry and are interested in drama and pure love. When all is said and done, we would give it a 3.5 out of 5, considering it was a bit confusing and tough to understand.